I have chosen this occasion, talking with all of you, to roll out some new policy from my campaign about what I believe we have to do to get federal spending, our deficit, and our debt under control. And I thought that I would share these policy prescriptions with you first, because the debt that we are piling up in our capital is debt that will land on your shoulders. So I believe that we need to freeze federal civilian workforce and hire only one civilian employee for every two who leave government service, so that we can return our federal workforce to 2008 levels. Now, I believe we need to make an exception for national security, but in general, we need to say that we will hire only one for every two that leave. A full 22% of federal government programs fail to show any positive impact at all, and yet they are costing us $123 billion each and every year. These programs need to be held accountable for producing results, and if they cannot produce their intended results, then they need to be reformed or scaled back, and if they don't succeed, they should be ended. As a program's authorization expires, Congress should review each and vote to continue or to reform or to end those specific programs, so that only effective programs are receiving continuing funding. By the way, Congress could do this today. They don't. It is work they have put off for too long, and this kind of oversight will help us improve both program efficiency, program effectiveness, and reduce the spending of ineffective dollars. We need to end special projects. I believe that earmarks, sweetheart deals, all should be rejected. Any spending of taxpayer dollar should be up on the table in a normal budget and appropriating process instead of under the table, which is what earmarks are all about. And let us acknowledge that both parties are guilty of these sweetheart deals and earmarks. We need to end them once and for all. I also believe the president should have the authority to line item veto any spending that is not in the national interest. Close by here in Los Angeles, we have the city controller saying what is obvious to everyone, that the stimulus money hasn't been effective in creating jobs. So let's return that unused stimulus money, and let's end bailouts once and for all, and ask Congress and the President of the United States to put forward a plan to end the taxpayer ownership of General Motors, of Wall Street, of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac by the end of 2011. Let's make sure that any revenue generated from the equity positions that government has taken in those entities is returned to the taxpayer and used to pay down the debt. And to reduce the debt further, let's allow Americans to choose whether to use their tax dollars to pay down debt. It is our money, after all. By giving taxpayers the opportunity to designate anywhere from 0 to 10% of their tax dollars towards paying down the federal tax liability, we allow an individual taxpayer to choose what's more important to them. Is it more important to spend part of my tax dollars to pay down the debt, or is it more important to spend my tax dollars on additional programs? And then Congress would have to cut the aggregate amount of spending contributed by the taxpayers. If every single taxpayer designated 10% of their tax dollars toward debt reduction, it would contribute about $95 billion every year toward reducing our national debt. We cannot saddle you with roughly $43,000 in debt as you begin your professional lives, and yet that is what we are doing if we do not get federal government spending under control and begin in a serious way to reduce the deficit and the debt.